the Charlotte Hornets might finally be ready to be a decent team in the NBA. Now look, Hornets fans, Charlotte fans, I know y'all haven't been respected for a while. No one really talks about y'all, and let's be honest, rightfully so. Y'all have been asked for a very long time. But I'm going to be getting into why I think potentially the team that has Kemba Walker as their best player ever could legitimately be a real good team going into just next season, and why I am much higher on them than the consensus going into the NBA next year. And now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the Hornets are going to be anything but a first round exit team. I'm not saying they're going to be this contending level out of nowhere super team. Absolutely not, okay? They're still the Hornets. But I'm going to be getting to why I think they could be a play-in team or maybe even just an outright playoff team if everything goes right for them. And that is way more than what you could say about the Charlotte Hornets in basically any other year that they have existed since I have been born. So, I think this is a huge step forward and a huge step forward to the progress this team is trying to build towards, and I'm getting into a few reasons why I think they're actually going to be a kind of sleeper team going into next year. And if that does sound interesting to you, please watch the video all the way through, and without further ado, without running on too much, let's get right into this video. So first things first, let's just get into the foundation of this Charlotte Hornets team, okay? What this team is built on, and that is their big three of their young trio, which is led by LaMelo Ball. Now LaMelo Ball, he is at this point, in my opinion, a legitimate elite star level player. Now he hasn't made many all-star games and he hasn't really getting talked about a lot because of injuries and because, well, he plays for the Hornets. Not a lot of people talk or pay attention to them, and like I said, rightfully so, due to their past track record in the NBA. But LaMelo is still a special passer. He can score pretty nicely. Yes, his consistency is a little bit kind of not there, but he's still very young. He can still definitely improve, and he's still a very, very good passer and all around a point guard that I think a lot of NBA teams would really like to have on their roster. And it's hard to say his playing style doesn't lead to winning because he's never been put in a situation where anyone would win, okay? Like, he's not LeBron, okay? But I mean, hopefully, with a good team around him, LaMelo Ball can legitimately succeed and legitimately lead this team going forward and be the star that a lot of people think he already is. And then their second guy is Brandon Miller. He was a rookie last year and he played amazingly. And if it wasn't an all-time rookie class, he probably would have won Rookie of the Year a lot of other seasons, okay? Because he played out of his mind. He showed that he can be a three-level scorer and he looks like a future star and could legitimately be a problem going forward and could be a great 1-2 punch between themselves and really play very nicely together. And I think they could potentially have two legitimate stars going forward in LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. And then lastly, I'm going to say Mark Williams is their third guy. And although I don't think Mark Williams is anything super special, I don't think he's going to be a superstar or even an all-star or anything like that. I think he's still a very solid piece, and he's one of the more underrated big men in the entire NBA because he's a very solid athlete while also having pretty good two-way potential. He's just very athletic. He's always a lob threat. He has some touch around the rim as well. He's just overall not a terrible player, and I think Mark Williams is one of the more underrated big men in the entire league due to pretty much his circumstances that surround him and a little bit of injury issues as well. So if these three are able to stay healthy and really play together and build chemistry, I think they could legitimately be a foundation of a very, very solid team. And then even if you just zoom out of this big three foundational core that they do have on their roster, their overall team is also not that bad because look what their starting five potentially could look like next year. You'd have NASCAR driver LaMelo Ball as their starting point guard. You have Mighty Mouse Grant Williams as their shooting guard, notorious law-abiding citizen Brandon Miller as their small forward, notorious woman respecter and Miles Bridges at their power forward position, and then also Mark Williams, who is always the peak of healthiness in the NBA. So that starting five, assuming they can all be on the court at the same time, could be extremely, extremely solid. Now, obviously, we have seen in the past, everyone besides Brandon Miller and really Grant Williams, the other three definitely struggle to stay on the court for their own respectable reasons. Maybe one of them not so much of a respectable reason. But yeah, overall, I think this team could really fit together because Grant Williams is an absolute sniper from three and is 6'6" and can play very solid defense. Brandon Miller and LaMelo, I think, are stars. Miles Bridges, although maybe not the best person, I think is still a very solid NBA player, and Mark Williams, and in my opinion, is definitely a starting level center in the NBA and is quickly becoming one of the more underrated ones. So that starting five could legitimately give teams problems, and you can definitely build from there. You can definitely improve it. You can definitely improve as the season goes on, and if they can stay healthy, I think that could be a starting five that legitimately legitimately makes a play-in or playoff push going towards the end of the season next year. And then you add on top of the fact that their bench is also much better than what you would expect from the Charlotte Hornets. Off their bench, they're going to have rookie Tajane Salone. Now look, I'm not the biggest Salone fan, but I do think he's going to be a solid role player in the NBA for them. Kind of a Dyson Daniels-esque guy. Some people are much higher on him, but me personally, I don't think he's going to be super special, but I do think he's going to be pretty solid, and he's going to be a very good defender from day one as well, so he's probably going to be a pretty nice depth piece to have. Trey Mann has shown lots of potential with them, and he looks like he could be a potential good rotational guy going forward. Nick Richards is a very good rotational center, and he really kind of fits the same way Mark Williams plays, so you're going to have a lot of consistency going from Mark Williams to Nick Richards in the lineup. Even if one goes down, at least they play similar ways, so they're going to be able to do similar things, and the chemistry won't be super messed up. Then you also have guys like Seth Curry, who's a very good sharpshooting guard, Nick Smith Jr., who has tons of potential and is going into year 2. Cody Martin has shown his worth with the Miami Heat, and he's still a very solid player. And then randomly, they have Taj Gibson's 40-year-old ass. How he's still in the NBA, I don't know. But for that being one of your last people off the bench, not a terrible guy to have. And I just think for sure they're going to be a much improved team last year. Now look, the bar is set extremely low for improvement. I'm pretty sure they were bottom 2 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. You basically can't get worse than that, okay? But I think that they're a much better team than they showed. They had lots of injuries, lots of suspensions, lots of things going on with the team last year. Basically, they were led by Brandon Miller. So although Brandon Miller is great, a first-year rookie trying to lead a team is never going to really work out too well, even if you're Victor Wembanyama, as we saw with the Spurs. So I still think the Charlotte Hornets are going to be much better when they're fully healthy and all their players are available for an entire season. And even if there's injuries here and there, if they can just play the majority of the season together, I think this team could legitimately be a play-in team, because let's be honest, the Eastern Conference isn't the deepest it's ever been, and it's definitely kind of top-heavy as a conference, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Hornets become a play-in team this year, and maybe even legitimately become a threat in the playoffs, because I wouldn't want to play a team led by LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. Those are two legitimate potential stars in the making, and I would not want to play a team with two young, hungry stars. Now, am I saying they're going to get past the first round or even make the playoffs? I don't know. I would say the play-in should be their goal this year, and I think that's a very realistic goal for them, because they're not like one of the bottom feeder teams that have like no hope. Like the Wizards are awful. They're going to be better than the Wizards. The Detroit Pistons are the Detroit Pistons. They'll find a way to mess something up. And then overall, the rest of the teams that are in the bottom of the East are just very, very bad. And I think the Hornets just have a much higher ceiling than any of them, at least for this year. And overall, I think that this team could be very scary with the improvements of their young guys, with Brandon Miller and all that, with the health benefits of hopefully LaMelo Ball for an entire year, or at least a majority of the year. Miles Bridges, my bad, Miles Bridges actually getting to play, even though whatever your opinion is on Miles Bridges, he's still a solid player. I don't support him, obviously, but he's still a solid NBA player. If he can play, he's more than good enough to be a starting power forward in this league, and him and LaMelo have a lot of chemistry. And I just think overall, the starting lineup and with his depth, this team could be much better than a lot of people are anticipating, and that is why I'm much higher on the Charlotte Hornets than probably most people in the NBA. Now, once again, I'm not saying they're going to be a great team or even a special team. I just think they're going to be much better than what we're used to seeing out of Charlotte. But unfortunately, guys, that's me for this video. Comment below. Do you agree with me? Do you think that the Charlotte Hornets are going to be one of the best teams in the NBA? I don't think they're going to be, but what do you think their ceiling is and all that? I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. If there's any point, hit like button and subscribe button with the absolute word to me, and I hope you have a blessed day, because I had a blessed day, so you need a blessed day. All glory to God. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah.